Hi, it's Jez here from Nigezza.co.uk. Thanks for joining me today. So it's Wednesday and it's a junk journal day, and I'm trying something completely new to me today. I got this idea after watching a video by Nicole Relax Cut Glue, and she made what she called a magazine glue book, and she used a magazine. I've used a Stampin' Up mini catalogue. Her magazine she used was this way in orientation, and it opened that way, and she sliced it in half, so it was half the size of this. But I have made mine, it's practically an A5 journal, yeah, so it's not completely finished. I mean, the basic book is now finished. I've got these nice sturdy neutral pages that I can do whatever I want with. I think in what she did was like used it to sort of collage things on, which I might do. I do enjoy doing that, and it'd be quite nice to do one a week or as a bit of a relax. But yeah, I am really pleased with how this has turned out, and I've got 20 pages, well, you know, 40 front and back. It's got a nice stiff cover, and yeah, it's very sturdy, but it started off as a flimsy catalogue. So stay tuned and I'll show you how I did it. So I'm doing something completely different. I have watched the other night Nicole Relax Cut Glue, and she was making what she called a glue book out of a magazine, and she had a magazine that was that way, and so she created a glue book the quarter of the size because she cut it in half. And then I remembered that because I wanted something bigger, and I thought, well, our Stampin' Up catalogues, the little minis, open this way, so I could probably make one half this size. So I'm gonna have a go. So what she did was she started in the middle and she folded the page in half, not going quite up to the crease, sort of just a little way back so that the pages would still open. I'll pull two over there. So she went in the middle and then just creased it up. That wasn't very straight, Jez. At the first hurdle, I did it wrong. There we go. So that's what she did. Use a bone folder, get a nice crease, fold it over, and repeat. And that's the first stage of creating this book. Now I have no idea if using pages that are actually going to be bigger is going to make them sturdy enough. These will glue together and then you'll glue paper on top, so we might end up with something sturdy. It's an experiment, so I'm going to see how it goes. If it doesn't create something sturdy enough, then I can cut it in half like she did. I would just have it opening top, which is okay, a bit like a notepad, which would work as well. So she was much quicker than me, so I might speed this up, and we're just going to carry on until we get to the end, and then I'll show you how we change it up to the other side. So there we are, and we leave the cover. We don't do that one. So now we need to, so we've got all these pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 pages, which we count front and back, that's 36. So we'll have the same on that side. As you're filling it, you might find you want to remove some of the pages. You might have too many. Now, the way she did it was she turned around that way and repeated it just because she found it easier to fold this way. And to be fair, I'm going to do the same thing because I've got used to folding that way, and so I'll carry on. So I'm going to carry on like this, doing exactly the same thing until I've done it to the entire catalogue. So say I'm using a catalogue, you can use a magazine. Don't have to do it so it opens this way. You can do a sort of traditional style magazine as well. You'll just end up with a long thin one, and I say she chopped it in half, so you had a nice little mini thing, which I thought was cute as well. And I might do that with some of my annual catalogues, which are that way on. So there we have all the pages, they're done, and it does get a little bit slightly protruding there in the centre. We've got quite a big thick thing there. So you might find that as we go through, we're going to start on the outside, the two outsides, and move into the middle so that we'll be able to move things from the middle if need be. Now, the cover, I want to come over a little bit, so I won't be folding the cover right there. I'm going to come back, I think I'm going to come back about ½ an inch. So that it's got a little bit that's come over there, and so you've got a bit of a lip there, so you can see the gap there. And I'll do the same at the back. I want to make sure the back is level with the front. As much as possible. That's a bit too far. Go in a little bit. About there. Is that about right? That looks about right. Gonna glue the cover at the end. That's what Nicole did, so that you know, if things change. So that's where we are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to glue the pages down, and that will give a little bit of extra strength, and then we're going to cover them. So I'm going to use a glue stick because they're going to get covered over the top as well. So I'm just going to run my glue stick. This is just cheap glue stick. I buy them, I think, in packs of 20. Might be 12. I can't remember. About £4. So not very expensive at all. And then I think I might just put a little bit of Catalogue around the edges. And then in the middle for good measure. So then I'll fold it back where the crease was. And that's the first page done. I say, when she made hers, it was the other way around, and she cut it in half. So you could cut this in half and then you'd have like a notebook, but I quite fancied one this size. So I'm going to do a few more and then we'll turn to the back so that we'll know. Need another glue stick. Almost glue stick change time. Yeah, because we might need to cut out some pages towards the middle. Yep, definitely need another glue stick. So put a bit of colour around the edges. This will add a bit more strength to the page as well. So if there's any corner bits that aren't glued down, just add a bit more glue. Just stick them right down, and I say they are going to get covered. So that is what you do, and you carry on doing this. So it's a sort of job that you might do whilst watching telly or binge watching on Netflix, Prime, whatever you watch. So I'm going to carry on and do a few more pages. I won't do them all because the next bit I want to show you is about how to collage over these pages. Okay, so what I've done is I've done 10 pages at the front and 10 pages at the back. And so now I'm going to start collaging on them, and then we can see how thick it gets to decide whether or not we want to remove any or add some more pages. So I'm going to ignore the first one for now and do a double page. And so I'm going to do like a neutral background. So I've pulled out some of my vintage books and music sheets. So this was a massive piano book. It was about yay thick. So I've just pulled out a whole signature so that I can, you know, easily get the pages from that. I like the colour on that. This is a huge thick encyclopedia. This was gifted to me by a friend who was clearing out, it was her uncle's house. So very old. Not sure how old either of them are, but old. This is a hymnal. I can't remember how old. I think this is about 100 years old. Don't think this one's quite 100 and that one isn't, but this one is. This, I think, was from the 40s. I can't remember how old this one is. Do you know, I've got it here. I've got to the stage now where I'm happy to rip books open. 1935. There we go. So quite old. I liked this one because of the colour. And it was nice little size. Nice to have small for a change. And I will probably make myself a little mini journal with that. That's a nice size for... I used that size for my December daily last year. So that might be what happens with that. So that's got a little difference of colour in it. So I thought they were just good to have them pulled out to do this with. So when I watched Nicole Relax Cut Glue, I can say that because I've got it written down there, so I didn't forget. She went across the join, so she stuck something directly across there, and she did a mixture of pattern papers and, you know, sort of book pages like this. So this one is quite thin. Well, it's not as thin as I thought it was going to be, actually, as I remembered. That's quite a robust paper. This one certainly is, but it's not as big. I want one full sheet to go across there, so I might actually use the music sheet. I love that. That's really busy and lovely. So I might just stick that across, actually. And that gives us a nice sort of basis, and then we can add other things. So I quite like that. I might rip it down. Get my ruler. Might rip it down. And use a flatter ruler for the top and the bottom, because that's got a nice flat bit there at the top. So let's get a nice flat bit at the bottom. I'm not worried too much about it. So yeah, we'll stick that down quite nicely. I'm up the right way, yeah. So we're gonna that. When I go over glue stick with this nozzle, it kind of picks up some of the glue. So there we go, putting that across there. So I'm gonna put a bit of glue stick on here, just down the spine. No rhyme nor reason at all, just thought I'd do it. And then I might put a little bit of glue down there as well, and then stick this over. And I'm going to take my bone folder and go up there. Close it over so that it's not stretched over, it's actually going into the crevice. Being careful not to poke a hole in the paper, because that's easily done. So that's that bit. And that just, I say, covers that join up, and then it's just a matter of using other bits. I say I just did it so that we had a nice sort of join, a nice neutral base to be working from. So I'm just using those sort of 5 books that I pulled out and just filling in the gap, not inking, and I'm just ripping, but I am making sure the sort of top, bottom and sides are ripped fairly straight, so that the edges are as neat as possible, really. And I'm just using a metal ruler there to do that. I do bring in a ripping ruler as well to give a rough edge, but not on this particular page that I'm doing here. I'm using my Catalogue glue, which adds strength as well as glues it down, because magazine pages are, well, the catalogue pages are quite flimsy, so I want to add a little bit of strength. So it's going to have 2 layers of book pages, front and back, as well as 2 layers of glue. So they will become quite robust. So add a little bit of glue stick there as well. I'm not trusting fully glue stick. I'm still not, believer in glue stick. And I can't remember if she actually folded over the edges. That might be a nice idea, actually, so that you've got a nice neat bit over here, is to wrap a piece over the edge. So like that could actually get wrapped over. So the edge is covered. Only just thought of that. So having had that brilliant thought, that's what I've decided I am going to do now going forward. So obviously that other edge hasn't been folded over. So just going around the edges, making sure that they're all stuck in nicely. So this one I'm alternating. So I used music paper for the centre spine bit last time, and here I'm using that big encyclopedia. I think it's just easier to do one big strip down the middle, and then I need some edgy bits. So again, I'll use that book, rip it so that it's the right size top and bottom, fold it in half, and then that is a nice little edge for the page, and that will give it a nice feel at the edge. So then I'm just filling in, as I've done before, with these pages, using quite big sheets there. So it doesn't actually take very long. There's a tiny little bit I've got to fill in, and this will just make a really nice background to then work with in however I want to do it. I've decided on that side I'm not just going to use a single strip, so I'm just adding a couple of different pages overlapping so that they can then be glued over. So we've got a nice edge ready to start the next page. That hymnal, I love the way the verses of the hymns are stepped down there, so they make nice, it's a nice little feature, quite like it. So yeah, so that's how I'm just going about thoroughly enjoying it, not thinking too hard about where things are going. I think having a limited amount of books to choose from really helped make this process quite quick. So then just trimming the edges off and the top and the bottom, and that's another page complete. Okay, I just thought, as I've worked out a way to make this sort of like quite a little bit quicker, so I've done the first sort of 5 pages here at the beginning of the book, and so now I'm going to start the back of the book. And then just to make things quicker, I have created my strips for the edge of the pages so that I can go through and stick them down sort of straight away. So I used my ruler just to sort of cut to size, and I've folded them in half, and that's upside down. So I used my large vintage encyclopedia for that, so that they could just be one strip. And then I have made some strips of the large music paper and that vintage encyclopedia again to go across the middle, so that I can do those bits straight away and then fill in the sides. That was kind of what I did for the last couple of pages here. And that's what sort of made it quicker. I've alternated between putting music in the middle and putting encyclopedia in the middle, so that it's did that one upside down. My son will go, Mum. So yeah, that's what I've done. So that sort of made it a little bit quicker, and I thought I'd just share that with you whilst I do it. So I might do one now, so you can see. So yeah, this made the whole process so much quicker and took away some of the thought that I had to do. So by just going through, so I'm doing the back 5 pages after having done the front 5 pages. So I went through, I'm not doing it to show you here, but I did all 5 before, and then put all the middles in, so then I could go and fill up, as you can see there. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then put the middles in, and then they're all prepped, ready to fill in. So it was much quicker doing it this way. And so then the only thing you had to think about was the 2 strips that needed filling in, which was lovely. Right, so I've done the 5 pages at the back and the 5 pages at the front, and so I decided that with the other 5 pages at the front and the back that I had previously glued, that I thought that would be enough, so that it was 10 at the front, 10 at the back, making 20 pages, 40 back and front. So I've removed these ones from the middle. I removed them carefully so that the staples were okay. That one came up a bit, I just knocked it back. I now know, well, I'll know when it's finished if it's okay, that I removed 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think 8 pages that I moved. So if I want to do this again, that might be what I'll do. So I'm going to finish with the other pages, and then we'll do the cover and see what it's looking like. Okay, so there we have it. I think I made the right decision to do just 20 pages, and they're all covered. Obviously I haven't done the cover bit yet, so I got into a bit of a rhythm of it. So doing the edges, the middles, and then filling the 2 sides worked really well. Doing it, and they although I was sitting there thinking they're all going to end up being a bit samey, actually they're not. Because I picked out those, was it 2 lots of music, to an encyclopedia, a dictionary and a novel. So 5 bits. I think there was enough to make them look different without creating too much of a mess, really. So yeah, that's good. And can you see what's happened there? That centre bit. We've come out there a little bit, and you can see the covers are now too short. So, which is not a problem because we can just refold. So I'm going to come out a little bit more, I think. So that we go beyond. Don't want to go too far out. I might now go somewhere in the middle of where I've just done. Easier said than done. There, that seems to be quite level there. So I need to take the back one out. So what have we done? Difficult to judge, really. So about there. How about that? How's that looking? I think it needs to come out a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's about even. So in the same way as I did for the pages, I'm going to glue these down. So got a bit of tie back, comes in A4 sheets, so slightly shorter in length, but fine. I cut it to about 4 inches, and so I just think put that round the outside is what's required. So I just felt that because it's got a lot of pages in it that have got quite a lot of weight on it now, that edge there, the front cover edge, needed a little bit of strengthening, and Tyvek is the perfect way to sort of strengthen it. The inner pages are covered back and front round where the staples are with the vintage book pages and music paper, so they're strong, they're not going to fall out, but I didn't want like the cover then dropping off as well, so that's why I sort of chose to do that. And then I'm just wrapping the edges there like you would wrap a journal cover, so that the actual corner bit is nicely covered there as well. And then just covering the rest of the pages in the same way as I did all the other pages, so that they're sort of ready to do whatever it is that I choose to use this book for, and preparing for the actual cover of it that I'm going to put on. Okay, so those those are covered, the inside of the front and the back cover. And I do want to cover this in something that will go slightly above and slightly below it. And I was looking at this music paper that I've been using, and it is about the right size. It sort of goes all the way around, got a slight overlap at the top and the bottom, and it goes round nicely. So that's the size I'm working on. Obviously I don't want to use the music paper. And I remembered this wallpaper that I bought in a charity shop, and so I thought, oh, this might be quite nice. So I'm thinking that I would do this double thick and see what it feels like. So I'm going to try. So I'm going to use this as template, and I'm going to cut it out and stick the two layers together. So I had a little bit of a look at it, doubled over, I think. So even though that's quite thick, the edges would be flimsy and they'd probably get dented. So I thought I might layer it in between some cardstock. So this is 300 GSM, 12 by 12 cardstock. So I'm going to cut this down. So I measured how tall it is, allowing for the bit that's overlapping at the back and the front, and I want it to more or less be the size of what these pages are turning out to be, which is just shy of 9 3/4. So I'm going to make it 9 3/4, not 9 3/4, 8 3/4, and 12 inches is about right. So 6 goes to there, so that allows for it to go around. So I'm going to cut this down to 8 3/4. So I'm going to score at the centre point, just like I would if I was using this on a journal. So we've got 6 inches there. So I'm going to do 2 that side, I think, and 2 that side. So I'm going from 5 3/4 to 6 1/4 to create this sort of curled effect, which makes it go around quite nicely, I think. There. Yep, that works for me. So I think we'll just wrap the wallpaper around this and then stick it down to this. Okay, so I'm just letting you know that if you're following me, don't do this bit. Cut 2 separate covers for the front and the back, about 5 inches wide. If you're using a similar size thing, you need the front and back to be separate, and then I'm going to make a spine bit. You'll see why when you carry on watching it, but the front and the back you're going to wrap in the same way as I'm doing here. You'll just be doing it in 2 smaller separate bits. So I'm just cutting it and making that sort of corner edge have a gap so that it wraps the corner, so that corner's not exposed, and then just sort of sticking it down with a bit of glue stick and the collal. What I'm doing with this is that I am then rescoring it on the scoreboard, but you won't need to do that because you're going to use 2 separate rectangles, the height that you want and the width that you want, to not include the spine, because you do need to do it in 2 separate bits. I just thought that was important to let you know. So I know some people start a video and then they start copying, and I didn't want you to all go, oh my God, why didn't she let us know? So yeah, I did sort of learn from a mistake, and I do rectify it later, and you'll see how I do that. But you can see from here how we're getting these nice neat corners, and I say, yeah, I am scoring, which you would do if you were stitching it in. So if you were making something that you were stitching in a cover, then this is exactly how you would do it. But I'm not stitching in the cover, I'm just sticking it down, and it moves. So if you stick it in, as you see there, that the sides move, and you can sort of watch me sort of try and do it, and they're moved. Yeah, it's not going to work that, because it wants to slip. So what I'm going to do before it glues is I'm going to cut it down and have it in 2 parts, so I've got separate on the spine. I think that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut this down here. I don't want to use my trimmer on it because it'll get all inky. So cut that down to roughly 5 3/4. So I'm just taking the spine bit off. And I'm going to put a separate spine on, so it doesn't matter that this is a rough edge. And I think that's the way to do it. And then it can move. So yeah, they were 5 3/4 wide, not 5 as I previously said. And yeah, this works much better doing them in 2 separate. So, and then I'll put a spine that will then not be stuck. It will only be stuck to these bits, so it can move. I think that's how we're going to have to do it. So I might take this and cut it to 8 3/4 because that's the height. I'm going to score on it every 1/8 of an inch. Give it a bit of a curl. You can do it over the side of a table. Probably works better that way. You won't be able to see me do it. And then if I glue it on but leave a bit of a gap there, then that will allow for that to open up and go flat if it's not actually glued down and we've left a space. I could wrap it in that, but go in lengthways instead. Yeah. So the way I'm wrapping this spine bit is how you'd wrap the front and the back cover. I mean, you don't really have to do the edge that's going to the spine. You don't have to wrap those edges because you're not going to see them. But here for the spine, it is wrapped, making sure all the corners are wrapped by cutting that diagonal, but leaving a bit of a gap, maybe 1/8 of an inch, so that they will fold over and the corners are completely covered. And then once it's covered, putting it back on the scoreboard and re-scoring those score lines at every 1/8 of an inch, so that it sort of bends round nicely, making it a bit more flexible. Also gives it a nice little sort of detail on it as well, so I quite like that look. And then that's sort of ready to stick on the journal. So yeah, I'm just making sure that it is nice and wide and looking nice and curly and looking at where it would stick. And then I didn't like the white edge there, so I'm just colouring that Tyvek with an alcohol marker, just so that it doesn't look stark white. There, I just think that'll look a little bit better. So you can't see the white when you look down. It's just what I thought, you can't see the white. So I'm going to glue that. About an inch worth. Not quite an inch, yeah. I might glue an inch on each side. Maybe 3/4. 3/4 of an inch each side. So I'm going to leave that to dry and then we'll see what it's like. So that's it, all dried. And what I did was I opened the page and I've sort of creased it along there where I've glued it ends. So I think that kind of makes it fit a bit better, and I did the same on the back, so you get that little peak, and that's what helps it open up and stay flat. And yeah, so this could now be turned into a journal, could have pockets, tags and everything added to it. It could be an art journal, one that you would do collages on, or indeed you could add pockets and you could turn it into an ephemera holder. So I haven't quite decided yet what to do with it, but thoroughly enjoyed making that. Something that you can put together in a day or over a weekend, sort of crafting, and then do whatever with it. So yeah, just junk. So hope like that. I will be probably bringing some more videos doing with this, thinking of sort of decorating. If I do turn it into a journal, it will get chunkier, and so it need a closure. Got this nice blue ribbon which I think would work really nicely, and these are one of these altered postcards I did. It's not finished, and could stick a topper on it and that would hold the ribbon down, and then I could just stick it on the back or leave it loose on the back. So yeah, I might bring those videos at a later date. Okay, thanks for joining me. Hope that was useful, hope that was enjoyable, hope it wasn't too much of a thinking on my feet, but yeah, brilliant. And I've got to thank Nicole from Relax Cut Glue who gave me the idea for it. Okay, I'll probably be doing this again. I have loads of these catalogues left over, so yeah, I'll be making these again, I think. Bye for now. All the details will be over on nigezza.co.uk. Yeah, not that there's much details. I'll just put some photos and things up and some ideas of where I now know what to do for the cover. Bye for now. See you again soon.